qualify.
Hey everybody, it's your old buddy Kevin here from Happy Beard Games, your source for classic gaming goodness. Now I'm a huge fan of racing games, specifically the arcade-style racers or the kart racers as well. Arcade-style racing games feature more of a lighter take on the racing genre. There's not so much specific things like you get in some of the detailed NASCAR games, but you do get that same sense of racing, you get the sense of speed, you get the sense of competition. And sometimes they throw in unique things like the items on Mario Kart or something cool like that is unique to that specific game. Now, pole position, we're going to be playing on this system, which is the Jakks Pacific Plug and Play. It's actually called the Miss Pac-Man Jakks Pacific Plug and Play. So it's Plug and Play TV there, but it's featuring Miss Pac-Man. But it comes with a few other games, including Xevious, Mappy, Galago, which I love that, and then Pole Position. Yeah, Pole Position. That's what we're going to be playing. But in addition, we are also playing pole position mainly on the N64's Namco Museum 64. Now, pole position came out in 1982, and it was developed by Namco, the same people that brought you Pac-Man. And now Namco also published the game in Japan. In the US and North America, it was published by Atari, who was really popular at the time, of course. This is the early 80s. Alright, so in the game pole position, your first objective is to qualify. Prepare to qualify. You do a qualifying lap around the racetrack. The racetrack always remains the same, and your first lap is just a qualifying lap to see how you place in your rank, your position you get, your pole position in the actual race, which comes in the next level. Now, pole position is a little different than some arcade games, like Donkey Kong. You know how in Donkey Kong, you're going from level to level to level to level, or Pac-Man, you've got the first maze, the next maze, the next maze. This one's a little different, the way they lay it out. It's still an arcade game, it's still kind of in that classic sense, so you switch gears at 160 kilometers per hour, so you're going faster in the second high gear. Now, you're going pretty fast in this game, and it uses a 3D sort of isometric view, sort of pseudo 3D. Things you gotta watch out for: water puddles, signs on the side of the road, do not go off the road. It'll also slow you down. The other obstacle you've got on pole position is other racers. Now, it's not so much like a Mario Kart where you're actually looking out for the other racers and destroying them the whole time. It's not really like that at all. They're mostly just other cars that are there. So you can pass them, and it does count on your qualifying lap to what position you'll get, so you'll get kind of more points as you pass them. And the faster you go, the farther you get on the race, the more ahead you are, the better. But you still have to watch out for those cars. One touch from another car, or if you touch the other car, you'll crash. You'll both explode. So watch out for that. Once you're qualified, you move on to the actual race of pole position. And what you do in that race is you have 3 or 4 laps. Depending on what you set it to on the N64 settings or the arcade board settings, you have 3 or 4 laps to try to come in the best position that you can. One of the more difficult aspects for me on this game is the turns. You'll have curves on the track, so you'll have to turn very sharply. In some cases, you'll want to hit the brake, or else you'll fly off the road, and you might crash into one of those signs, which will put you back quite a bit and can prevent you from completing either the qualifying lap or doing your best on the actual race. The final race, every time you complete a lap, you'll get more time added to your timer, so you have more time to complete the next lap. And then so on, until you're on the final lap. There isn't too much of a difference, but it does get intense as you get to that final lap. Once you cross the finish line, your final score is recorded, and you get to see the flag girl waving you down. Little chibi pixel art there. Pretty nice to see a human in the game, as opposed to all the cars. Then you'll move on to the leaderboard screen, an arcade staple, and enter your initials. There you go, you're recorded in the Hall of Fame of pole position. That's your score, and there you go. So here's a pro tip for pole position, and it's actually a requirement to actually succeed in this game. And that is, you need to change your gear. Yes, change your gear. What you need to do is, when you're playing, keep an eye on the speedometer at all times, especially at the start of the race, or if you crash and have to restart. Now what you want to do is, once that gets up to 160 kilometers per hour, yes, it goes in kilometers on some versions of this game, but on other versions it's miles per hour, so you gotta watch that out. And these two versions that I have, N64 and the plug-and-play, are both different. The plug-and-play is miles per hour, the N64 is kilometers per hour. Because there's a difference in miles per hour and kilometers per hour, of course, and that actually applies directly to the game. So if you're playing in the kilometers version, what you want to do is wait till it gets to 160. That's the recommended time to switch gears. So the speed will increase really fast, so keep an eye out for that 160 and try to hit the switch right when you get to 160. It'll allow you to go past the low gear speed cap, speed limit, and it'll allow you to go into faster speed. But in the arcade, there was two versions of the game. There was the stand-up arcade cabinet version, and there was the sit-down inside a cockpit, you know, like you're sitting inside the actual cabinet. And with both versions, you had a racing wheel. So both versions of the game was identical, except for one thing. The stand-up version doesn't have a brake. Yeah, there's no brake on it. Okay? Now, that's kind of funny because on this plug-and-play, you have, this is your accelerate, this is your gear change, and this is actually kind of interesting as well. On this one specifically, you don't move the joystick, you actually twist it to turn left or right. It's like a steering wheel. It's really kind of weird, but it's kind of a gimmick, and it's kind of interesting. They kind of actually emphasize it. It's only on pole position. Now, it's funny because this does not have a brake on it. There is no brake button for pole position. So once again, like the stand-up arcade, you can't brake. You may think this might make or break your game. Yes, the brake feature, which is absent from the arcade stand-up and the Jack-specific plug-and-play arcade version, it can save you from a crash if you have the brakes. It's really important to have a car that has brakes. I mean, who would want to get in a moving vehicle in real life that doesn't have brakes? So it's pretty weird that there's no brake. Luckily, on Namco Museum, pole position on here has not only the brakes, the accelerate, and the shift gear controls. It allows you to customize the controls to any button on the N64 controller. And if you know the N64, you know there's a lot of buttons on there. Just to compare these two, this one includes better controls, in my opinion, and more customizable and fluid controls. You can switch between the thumbstick and the D-pad. You can change any of the buttons around, and it just feels more complete that way. In addition, you have the better processing power of the Nintendo 64, so it looks closer to the arcade original, I'm assuming, and it's been a while. And it also supports S-Video on the N64, so it looks really sharp. This one, on the other hand, introduces some gimmicky controls, and they're permanent, so you can't actually change them out or customize them in any way, and you have the absence of the brake button. There's a few other in-game differences and changes in pole position on this one specifically. Number one is you'll see billboards in the background as you're racing. You can crash into those billboards as well. And in this one, they have advertisements for the other games. So you might see a Galaga or a Mappy ad, and then you also see a Jack-specific logo. Now, one other difference is this one uses miles per hour instead of kilometers per hour. Now, another difference is this doesn't have any save data, so you can't save your file or your high scores to it. There's no memory. On the N64, it's the same thing as well, except you do have the option to buy a memory card, which you can plug into your controller, and that is compatible. So you can save onto the memory card only on the N64. You can't save onto the game pack for high scores. Some other differences on the N64 include a tips menu screen, where you can look at a few hints of the game. You can also tweak the individual settings of the arcade cabinet, sort of like a real arcade cabinet, but you can do it much more easier on the option menu of just the game. So you go to the game, you push start, you can adjust any of the options before the gameplay actually starts. You can change things like the time needed to finish the race, the number of laps. You can't go like all the way crazy like 99 laps, you can do 3 or 4. If I had to choose between these two games, I would definitely pick the N64 version. The controls are better, the graphics look sharper, the gameplay is a lot easier to play with that brake button. This one's okay, it's playable, it's harder, but this one is better. And now this is also available on the PlayStation and the Dreamcast, and I think a lot of other Namco museums, but you have to kind of check because each Namco museum varies. Pole Position was also featured in some famous pop culture things, such as Judas Priest's Free Will Burnin', ba-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na, ba-na-na, and The Goonies. It was referenced twice, including the high score of Pole Position. And also, it was turned into an animated TV series. I don't know how that would work, but it worked, and it's real. Alright guys, that was Pole Position today on Happy Beard Games. Check it out next time you're in the arcade. Subscribe to Happy Beard Games for more classic gaming goodness, and check me out on Twitter at Happy Beard Games. Alright guys, that's about it for today's Quick Play Arcade. Thank you all for watching. Bye!